The honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Premier. The roadmap for transforming the Nova Scotia Services to Persons with Disabilities program was accepted by this government in 2013. Advocates for community living options have been frustrated by the government's inaction and were deeply disappointed by the feeble commitment in yesterday's budget to begin moving 50 residents with disabilities from larger facilities to community-based living. These individuals have been inappropriately housed in institutions for many years. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Premier to explain why 7 years into a 10-year implementation of the roadmap, his government is just beginning to move individuals into appropriate, accessible housing.
The honourable Premier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, we have been moving people, Mr. Speaker, into independent living, actually, Mr. Speaker, across the province. Not only my constituency, many of whom I know personally, Mr. Speaker, the friends of mine who have moved into a group home and then actually moved out into independent living. We continue to work with our partners across the province. As she would know, some of the clients that we have, some of the residents that we have, require more supports. That's why in this budget the minister has made announcements and commitment to continue to provide those supports so that those who require medical and other supports in the Flex program will have more options to move to independent living, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Dartmouth North.
Mr. Speaker, there are 1,560 people on the Disability Supports Program waitlist. The waitlist for community-based residential supports and services has increased by 50% since the government committed to the roadmap. Investments in the Flex program are an expensive band-aid that may work for some, but there is nothing in this budget to show us how this government plans to address the need for supported living options in community for these 1,500 people on the growing waitlist. Mr. Speaker, can the Premier explain how he plans to meet the commitment he made in 2013 to the hundreds of people on the waitlist and their families?
The honourable Premier.
Speaker, suggesting, Mr. Speaker, some of the most vulnerable people in our care don't deserve to live independently through the Flex program, which has actually worked for those families, Mr. Speaker, is not appropriate, Mr. Speaker. The reality of it is, for those families and those individuals, that is an important step to them to move to independence. As I said to the honourable member, we have continued over the course of the last 7 years, continued to move people to independent living, and we will continue to work with our partners to ensure, Mr. Speaker, that as quickly as possible, all those Nova Scotians who want to live independently can. And I want to also tell the honourable member, there are certain Nova Scotians who want to remain in their current housing situation. I don't believe the honourable member believes I should go in and take people from where they are currently living if they choose to want to live there.